Welcome back, friends and family of the internet and fellow watchers on the wall. Today, we are going to do something a little different. I'm going to go back to my roots, which is organic growing, homesteading, all that good stuff. We're going to talk about this cattle issue with Argentina. Now, as someone who voted for President Trump and as a small farmer, I have a real problem when to save another country's agricultural industry, you destroy your own. Just so you know, America has the smallest beef herds that we have had ever in the entirety of our country. It's the smallest amount of beef than we've ever had. Let that sink in. We have more people and less beef than we have ever had in the entirety of our country. On top of that, to get your beef into a store, you must jump through regulations like you have never seen before. A couple of years ago, Steve came in and he said, "Look, I really feel like the Lord is telling me we need to raise cattle." So for the past year, we've been praying about that. We've been looking for land, even to get 40 acres of basic land that's never had cattle on it, that doesn't have the right foodstuffs planted, doesn't have the right shade, doesn't have water flow, just basic 40 acres of land. We're looking at several hundred thousands of dollars. Now, we could get uncleared land, which would take us another 5 to 8 years to cultivate into usable fields. Folks, there's a problem. When America becomes dependent on other countries to feed us subpar food, we're in deep trouble. Now, there's a reason America's beef is world known. Our ranchers, a lot of them have been doing this for generations. Did you know, are you aware that over 70 farms a day are closing across this country? I know, doesn't that sound like too hard to believe? Samantha, you've got to be wrong, but I'm not. Almost 4 farms an hour are closing in this country right now. They're going bankrupt. Nobody wants to take them. Between the land taxes, between the hurdles that you've got to jump through to get your product where people can actually purchase it, is ridiculous. Yet we're going to bring in food from foreign countries where there's no oversight. If it says it's from China and it's organic, who's proving that it's organic? There was a reason Argentina beef got banned from America for a while. And then it was heavily watched, like really, really heavily watched, you guys, between the hand, foot, and mouth disease that broke out in the late 1990s all the way up to 2006, to issues with when they would package meat and send it here, people were getting things like listeria. This is not a joke. Other countries don't have the regulations that we have. And to get into even having a small herd of cattle, 40 acres would only take, because we're talking about doing a much smaller cattle than these big beef cows, would only take about 15 to 18 cows. That's not enough to feed a couple of families, you guys. You can't replace it once it's destroyed. Land prices are too expensive. Equipment is too expensive. And you have to be raised, almost raised into this to understand all the legalities and the ins and outs. On top of what happened to our soybean farmers a couple of months ago, and now this with the ranchers, I decided today I was going to stand up and say enough is enough. A country that does not protect its farmers is a country that is going to be destroyed, because he who controls the food controls the people. So welcome back, you guys. I know some of you are not going to be happy with me doing this video. Personally, you already know my response to that. It is not about what we like. It is about what is happening to Americans. It is what is about happening to our food security in this country. And I'm not going to sit back and act like I don't see it. Trump expands Argentine beef imports amid rising U.S. cost. All right. The Trump administration is encountering mounting scrutiny over sustained inflationary pressures and volatile trade strategies that experts argue are undermining U.S. exporters, notably in the agricultural sector. Here's my thing. Our beef doesn't even need to be exported. If we would stop bringing in other countries' beef into America, then our ranchers would have plenty of different places they could sell to, friends and family. Agricultural Secretary Brooke Rollins defended a plan to expand low tariff Argentine beef imports to 80,000 metric tons annually. This is quadrupling what we were importing, while announcing an additional 20 billion in private sector commitments to bolster Argentina's economy alongside the initial 20 billion currency swap. They are destroying the dollar while bolstering with $20 billion in funds to Argentina's beef industry while bringing in 4 times the amount of beef that we normally brought in and not caring about America's beef. And I'm sorry, I don't care who gets upset. This is serious. It's so serious that I'm shocked that other, podcasters aren't covering it. You know why they don't want to cover it? Because it's not going to show Trump in a good light, you guys. It's not. And people don't, excuse me, people don't want to lose, people watching them. That's what it is. That's what it comes down to, is offending those that watch you. Okay, you're selling us out. That is the message from U.S. cattle ranchers who are furious with Trump right now over his new plan to import more beef from Argentina.
Beef prices for Americans. That is the message from some U.S. cattle ranchers who are furious with President Trump right now over his new plan to import more beef from Argentina. The president says he's doing it, he wants to do it, to ease record high beef prices for Americans.
I put tariffs on things coming in to the country, including beef, and that gave them a chance to finally have a decent industry. The ranchers understand that. They're so happy for what I've done. I saved them.
Trump also adding that he loves America's cattle ranchers, but also says they, quote, don't understand tariffs. Now, some of those cattle farmers who overwhelmingly did support the president in last year's election are making clear that they do not agree with his plan.
Consumers will tell us when the beef is too high. I think it's outlandish for the president to come out and say the beef is too high and he's going to get it down himself. What is his problem with higher priced beef? Because consumers have a choice in proteins. There's chicken, there's pork, there's all different proteins. Consumers have chose to buy beef. President Trump ran on being a free market guy. So what he was saying last week goes totally against what he ran on.
So in case you're curious about what that gentleman just said is, President Trump has decided beef prices are too high. Okay. Well, that's fine. But a free market works like this. If you don't want to pay that price for the beef, then you have a choice in shrimp, chicken, pork, eggs, all these other protein sources you can essentially choose from. You don't import 80 million tons of imported beef to drop the price. No, you leave it up to us. Like the guy said, we'll make that choice. All right, so in October, we saw soybean farmers starting their harvest, but they faced steep losses that could fuel farm bankruptcies and foreclosures. Many farmers say they feel betrayed. Last week, the Trump administration gave Argentina a financial lifeline of $1 billion loan. We all know they're not paying it back. But Argentina then cut the price of its own soy exports to China, undercutting U.S. farms. So let me repeat that to you. We gave Argentina a $20 billion loan that they're never going to be able to pay back. And then what they did was cut their prices on soybeans So American farmers' soybeans weren't bought, Argentina's were.
Month, hundreds of farmers packed.
Farmers say this has been a perfect storm. They were already battling higher growing costs and
A perfect storm. Boy, we've been hearing that a lot lately. I think that this is a perfect storm to me is like a Luciferian phrase of it's time to destroy. We've heard them doing it and saying it all the way back to right before Charlie Kirk was assassinated at his memorial, and they're still chanting it every chance they get.
crop disease. And now China, which had previously purchased half of all U.S. exports, has pulled out.
U.S. soybean farmers are starting their harvest, but they face steep losses that could fuel farm bankruptcies and foreclosures nationwide.
This is awful discouraging. You know, we do our very best to grow a good crop to feed the world, and then we can't hardly give it away.
Many growers say they feel betrayed. Last week, the Trump administration gave Argentina a financial lifeline, a $20 billion loan. But Argentina then cut the price of its own soy exports to China, undercutting U.S. farmers.
We don't do something. We're not going to have no family farms.
In Arkansas this month, hundreds of farmers packed into a church to plead for help from the government.
I'm in the worst shape right now that I've ever been in.
With prices for crops crashing, farmers are doing everything they can to stay viable, even selling off equipment. Joel's Tractors in Strawberry Point, Iowa saw a 30% jump in farm machinery up for auction this year.
Put a finger full of grease in there.
Keeping aging tractors running has Lawrence Christensen and his team working at full throttle.
The demand is stronger than the availability.
If you don't live this lifestyle, you can't understand how serious this is, friends. Argentina is not just the amount of beef coming in, but they have a long history of foot and mouth disease. USDA has not done a good enough job yet of making sure that everything coming from there is safe.
Of beef that comes in, but also the animal health issues. And so this is a bigger thing than just cattle prices.
Argentina, it is. They bring them over here and get ours sick. We're in trouble. First soybean farmers, now cattlemen. After years of suppressed prices, U.S. cattle producers were finally turning a profit. Now President Donald Trump says the U.S. will import Argentina beef, a move that will crash cattle prices and push American ranchers back into the red. And thanks to meatpacking consolidation, consumers are unlikely to see lower prices at all. And I'm going to get into the meatpacking in just a minute. This comes as Argentina took over soybean markets after China stopped buying from U.S. farmers right after Washington handed over $20 billion to them. Now Washington is sending another $20 billion and putting their beef atop ours. How is this America first? Now we got 649 active screwworm cases in Mexico. That's a 53% jump in 1 month. The CDC already confirmed to Beef Alliance insiders U.S. human cases tied to El Salvador. The USDA will check on Mexico in 2 weeks. That's the next thing that's going to destroy Texas's beef. Did you know 77 cattle ranchers in America are going out of business every day? And now President Trump plans to use our tax dollars to buy beef from Argentina. You guys, I'm furious.
So Beef Initiative puts out this. You know what? I'm just so sick of the gosh damn America First bullshit. It's America only, motherfuckers. From here on out, that's it. America only. I am so fed up with this bullshit, and this post should make you as pissed off as it makes me. So Beef Initiative puts out this tweet, and they said, Trump said, we'll buy Argentina beef. The reporter asked, well, what'd you say to U.S. ranchers who are losing their shit? His answer, Argentina is fighting for its life. They're dying. Meanwhile, 77 American cattle producers a day are going out of business. Did you hear that? 77 American cattle ranchers per day are going out of business. And thank God for Shipwreck. She's a top G. I absolutely love this girl. If you're not following Shipwreck Show, give this chick a follow. She says, I will not be buying Argentina beef, my guy. Struck out here.
Here's the thing. You won't even know it's Argentina beef. That's what so many people don't even understand how this whole thing works. This is how They get you. Okay, now there's a Tyson Foods that is going to be closing a major beef processing plant in Lexington. I'm going to get to that next. All right. So let me show you guys. You don't have country of origin labeling, so nobody knows what you're actually eating. The USDA watched the herd collapse, then filled the gap with Argentina and Brazil. It kills rebuild incentives and guts food security. You don't know who made that beef that you're eating from the grocery store.
Coming out here. Well, it's deer season here in Illinois. I'll probably go hunting a little bit later. So the rumor is that the USDA, they knew that there was going to be like a 5% reduction in herd size in the new report coming out here shortly. Whether the December report, I don't know which report, but so they know this, and then they decided to cut a deal with Argentina, bring in a little more beef. Now we got a deal with Brazil, bring in a little more beef to try to offset, you know, the lower herd size and lower beef production here, you know, in our country. And in doing that, they've not only offset it, but they're going to end up increasing the beef supply coming from foreign countries, which is not the same as the beef that we raise out here. I agree.
Amen, brother.
So y'all can do your own math, but it's market manipulation. They're trying to do things that I think maybe in their heart they think's okay, maybe not. Maybe they're just doing things to make money. What they are doing is they are misleading the markets, because now we're going to have an even lower herd size, like I've been talking about. You're going to have less American beef. You don't have country of origin labeling, so nobody knows what you're actually eating. And the end result is they've lost support of the farmer and rancher. They're going to lose national security interests by us not producing our own food supply, because guys are saying, you know what? Why do I want to build the herd if this is the kind of bullshit that's going to happen? And we're not going to make a profit out off the farm. So, you know, I don't agree with the numbers, because even if they do bring in what they're saying they're going to bring in, our herd size is not only record lows, it's even dropping further. So, you know, at the very least, the market should have stayed even, maybe dropped a little bit, and then corrected itself. So that's where we're at today, folks. Happy Friday.
I think they're hiding something. I think America's beef is lower than it's ever been in historical, like since America became a country. I think they're hiding something. I think they're manipulating the market so you don't see it. They refuse to pass legislation to require country of origin on our meats. I think if they did that, people would be so pissed off, they would stop shopping at grocery stores. Steven said the other day, he said, Samantha, I showed him, I'm going to show you all the video I just showed him the other day. He said, baby, we have got to get those 10 heifers. We're going with a Dexter cattle. It is a smaller version of a dual purpose cattle. You can milk them, and they're beef. And they come out of like Ireland or Scotland, one of them. They don't have the same problems with birthing as these large breed beef cows do. And he told me last night, he said, I'm going to tell you right now. He said, we get 20 acres because you can raise the Dexter out on just grass finish, like start to finish, right? Takes a little longer, but you can do it. He said, we're going to get a good 10 acres. He said, we're praying for 20 or 30 if we can afford it, but who knows? He said, if we could just get 10 good acres and start with 8 pregnant heifers, 10 pregnant heifers. He goes, I'm not even worried about selling to the public. The hoops are too much. We would start a private shopping club, basically, where people buy half a cow, and we would take it to a local processor and get our money back for the cattle like that. But I'm not even worried. But you guys, I'm going to tell you right now, watch food security. This is part of the Antichrist plan. They have to destroy the food security.
They're all doing better than we are, which is wonderful.
And we believe very strongly in the family farm and what it stands for, and it's definitely under attack right now. The tariffs have caused a tremendous negative impact. Of course, everybody tries to get good yields, but no matter how high the yields are, if you don't have a fair price, you're still not going to make money. There was an article saying from Argentina that they're only shipping high-grade beef to the steakhouses. And if you believe that, I've got a bridge in Arizona I want to sell you, because that is so fictitious. There's going to be all kinds of beef coming over. They're not going to limit it to the high-end cuts. And even if they do, that's going to take away the prices for our farmers and our cattle feeders that supply those high-priced cuts to the steakhouses. It appears to be a repeat of the 1980s and of the 30s. It started in that scenario where the money is more flowing into the corporate levels and the top echelon of people in our society. And when that happens, the farmers usually take it in the shorts. And I'm very concerned about it. We're going to have record yields, and we're going to have less than break-even prices for our farmers.
We have less and less people coming home to take over farms, so there's getting to be less and less family farms. It is kind of worrisome, because we're going to lose this way of life if we don't fight to keep it. I'm Shane Merrill from Parker, South Dakota. I'm 33 years old. Basically been farming my whole life. Grew up on this farm right here. Grew up farming with my dad and my grandpa every day, and my grandma, and it was just a great way of life and a great way to grow up. That's why we want to carry it on and see it through. It's certainly not for everyone, this way of life, but we certainly love it. We're trying to feed the world. I was a little bit surprised when the U.S. government announced that they had, given aid to Argentina, especially when we have so many programs right here and people in America that are hurting and could definitely use it. Importing Argentina beef really has got some cattle producers shook, and I don't blame them at all, because it really makes us question what's going on up there that would be of priority right now.
We need to be about we and not me.
I'm just so heartbroken for them. Not to mention, when the government shutdown happened all the way through October, November, all the subsidies, all the grants, all the money going to U.S. farmers just stopped in the tracks.
Impact stretch statewide. Thanks for joining us. I'm Rob McCartney.
I'm Julie Cornell. We were in Lexington last week talking with people impacted, but it also comes as a shakeup to agriculture and meat packing across the state.
KATV News Watch 7 Capitol Bureau Chief John Grinvold has this report.
They feel like their life is over.
Last week, Lexington was a community left drifting.
Some of our concerns are
grasping for solutions as Tyson announced a major plant closure.
Half of our kids have parents that work at the plant, so it's a huge deal.
But the fallout will reach far beyond Lexington and hit the beef industry especially hard, according to Nebraska ag leaders.
It's just not the closing of a plant, it's closing of that whole economy that goes around that.
The closure, set for January, won't just affect the 3,200 workers inside the plant. Truckers and producers weave their way onto the compound with their roughly 4,000 heads of cattle a day.
Those cattle have to go somewhere. It's really in the center of the cattle feeding industry up here in Nebraska. There's been more growth around this plant within the 200 miles.
There are other plants in Nebraska, like in Grand Island, North Platte, Schuyler, and Omaha. But whether they can pick up the slack is an open question.
It's a logistics nightmare. You have to now add that time. These trucks are going to have to go farther, right? So you really need more trucks on the road, which then you need more truck drivers.
One cause for the catastrophe. The American Farm Bureau says the national cattle herd is at its smallest in 73 years, down to 87 million from 94 million just a few years ago, putting a strain on packers who process fewer heads a day.
I do believe the herd will grow. It's just going to be at a slower pace.
But then there will be fewer packers, fueling more economic uncertainty down the line.
The pinch point, my gut says we're going to have in a couple of years if we don't get a plant like Lexington retooled.
Reporting for KATV.
You notice how they cut him off? I showed this to my husband last night. I said they didn't finish him. Listen to what he says.
Down the line.
The pinch point, my gut says we're going to have in a couple of years if we don't get a plant like Lexington retooled.
Reporting for KTV.
They cut him off. He was fixing to say, we're not going to have enough beef to feed Americans. I'm telling you. So here is the thing a lot of people don't understand. There are 4 major slaughterhouses in America, 4 companies that run slaughterhouses in the US, okay? So beef is big business, or at least it used to be. The big 4 packers. Tyson, which you just heard, is closing down in January in the middle of Nebraska, in the middle of corn country, in the middle of beef CAFO systems. Now, if you have purchased our book, Growing Under a Poison Sky, which I will link in products and description if you'd like to purchase it, I tell you about the evils of the CAFO system. I hate it. Cows are not created to eat corn as a fattening, to fatten them up, to get them to slaughter size faster. They were never built or made to stand in their own poop in direct sunlight for the last 4 or 5 months of their life to get them to a certain weight. That is cruel and inhumane. But you've got Tyson Foods, JBS, Cargill, and National Beef Packing Company. China owns like 2 or 3 of these. I think China owns Tyson now. So here is our president giving $40 billion to Argentina and trucking in millions of tons of beef from Argentina and Brazil, while America has the smallest beef herds we've had, I believe, in the creation of our country. Not just 70 years. I think it's the longest, it's the smallest it's ever been. They're not being honest because they don't want to scare people. But if Tyson is closing down because there's not enough beef coming in other words, they can't afford to be there. They're not processing enough beef. What does that tell you? It tells you that it's crashing. The beef industry is in the middle of a crash. That is why your president is importing all of this beef into this country. They won't tell you the truth. America, your farms are crashing. Your beef is crashing. So now you've got 3,200 people in the middle of Nebraska in the winter with no job. If you guys can't see, when agriculture crashes, it's over. The dollar's losing value every day. If the Lord has told you and put on your heart to start a small farmstead, to grow a small spring garden, you need to go follow my father, Papa Sammy and Alley Bug. I'll link him for you guys. He will teach you how to grow food. He's 84 next week. He'll tell you how to grow food in the most simplest ways. Just do exactly what he tells you to do in his videos. They're like 3 minutes long. You have time. You had better start prepping now for the spring because, guys, food prices are fixing to go up. You also want to know why food is so expensive? 42 million Americans get it for free. Now, let me tell you how this works. When a store can charge any amount of money for that gallon of milk, they will. Not because the dairy farmer is going to make any more money, but because the store knows you're going to buy it because you've got a food stamp card. You don't care how much it costs. Seriously, you're not paying for it. Someone else is. And then people have to pay actual money for it or paying increased prices. When Steve and I went to Maui the 3rd time, 1 year post Maui fire, I met some people that were talking about the rent increase. People were going homeless post fire, but they had not lost their homes in the fire. They were going homeless because the ones who lost their homes in the fire were getting federal dollars for rent. So what did all the landowners do? They increased rent because the government was going to pay for it. This is the problem we're at right now. We either need to scrap the social programs. I've said this before. Because you can't have a free market when the federal government's paying for it. So all 42 million people on food stamps, they can pay the high prices. The average person can't. So what happens? You either have to make more money or get on food stamps. Do you see what's happening? Are you starting to understand the issue? Let me tell you what you need to do. Get out of debt. Guys, I know it's not easy. My husband has only worked 2 full weeks since July. That means every week he was able only to work 2 or 3 days. Then he missed 4 weeks of work because of major surgery. We have to miss a whole nother week coming up, a whole week, no pay. We don't have food stamps. We're not getting government assistance, yet I still have bills. Try to get out of debt. Seriously. Try. I don't care what. Don't give me an excuse. Get it done. Get some food growing. If you can't have cows on your property, get a goat. If you can't have a goat, get some chickens, get some ducks. Figure out a way. Rabbits are great protein sources. They breed quick. They're easy to care for. They make no noise. Then you can use the urine and the poop to grow your food. Called closed loop systems, sustainable loop systems. I don't care where you live or what your situation is. Figure it out, friends. Because if you can't see the writing on the wall, Sam does. And to the ones of you that are sending $1, $10, $20 to help us afford Stevens Medical, God bless you. God bless you guys. Because I just feel like it's all going to crash around us in the next couple of years. And God forbid if our choices are J.D. Vance and Mark Rubio. Might as well just hand America over to the Roman Catholic Church and call us a theocracy, right? I love you guys so much. Like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you're seeing with food prices and farmers in your area. Love you guys.